everyone, Tracy here. Well, today I'm going to share with you how I'm going to be making my Christmas Ornament mini album, the one that I'm giving away to show my appreciation for the wonderful comments you guys give me on my projects and on my blog posts. So I will share with you how I'm going to make this, and the way I work is I never know what I'm doing until I'm working on that page. But I do have a little idea of this one, and what I like to do is use my Xyron to adhere the pages, but I know a lot of you don't have it, and if you watch my videos, you know I think everybody should be able to create no matter what your budget is. So what I am using is I'm just using white glue, and it's this tacky glue, and I watered it down so it's easier to spread. And you want to use an old paintbrush. This isn't old, this is a really good one. I love this paintbrush, but I used it for gluing and now it doesn't work as well as I like. Actually, I had to soak it to make it soft again because it was like hard as a rock. So what I want to do is put your glue all over and then put your paper down, and then you want to cut around the shape. You can cut around the shape first, but I like to cut around after it's adhered. It just in case I cut it wrong or I have to move it. And like I said, I usually use my Xyron, and once you glue something down with the Xyron, it's kind of hard to move it around. It doesn't work too good, so that's why I usually don't cut the shape out until the paper is adhered down. So you just put a nice layer of glue, and you want to smooth it out. I know a lot of people use the not tacky glue, I'm using tacky glue. A lot of people use the Mod Podge, and I've used it before, not for this purpose, but I've used it on projects many years ago, and I don't like the fact that it's tacky afterwards, and I heard that you have to do a top coat, and I don't want my paper to be shiny, so I don't want a top coat, and I don't want it to be sticky. But you want to for sure make sure you get these edges really well. And then you put your pattern paper down. This has a little bit of pattern where it's running this way or this way, so I got to decide which way I want it. And I'm not doing this part here because I'm going to put a different kind of paper on there. So, and I like to get the most of my paper, so if you want to know what I mean is I'll put it here, because then I can punch some flowers out. I can either cut this flower out, I can punch some shapes on here and make my own flowers. So what I want to do now is I want to just let this sit and dry, and then after that is complete, I'm going to want to cut this out around it. Sorry for my reach here. What I want to do is I like to use my X-Acto knife, and so I just cut around the edge. Sorry about that, I'm still battling this silly cold. So see, I have the paper adhered, and then what I do is I take my sanding block, and I just use one of these from the hardware store because it's way less expensive than the other ones. And you want to go down this way. You don't want to go up because you're going to be lifting your paper off the cardboard. So you want to go down. And then what I like to do is I'll end up inking around the edges after I'm totally finished. I'm going to just take a better look at it when I turn the camera off. And then for this side here, I want to use this paper, but I want to use as much of this pattern as I can. So you want to look at your paper and figure out how you can best use it. So I'd probably put it over here and maybe lift it up so it has this area here. And I'll show you that in when I come back. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish adhering all the paper onto all of my ornaments here, and this is the part where you would watch me glue everything on and fast forward, but I don't know how to do that, so I'm going to go and do that and then come back. Okay? I have all the paper attached to the book board or the chipboard. Now I want to decorate the ends, and I am embossing them. I was thinking of doing some metal foil, and I thought I'd punch some decorative pieces out like this, but it wasn't going to work the way I wanted it to. It wasn't going to look nice and neat, so I decided to emboss it. And another thing with this mini album, the one I had, it seemed a little damaged, I guess, and this is the only one they had left. The ends aren't very clean. I don't know how to say that. They're not very sturdy. And also the clip I had was broken. So I'm going to bind this a different way, but first I'm going to emboss the ends. And I'm sure most of you know how to emboss, but you take your Versamark and you put it on the area you want embossed, and then you pour your, put the lid back on. Then you pour your embossing powder on here. And this isn't going to go to waste because you're going to pour the leftovers back into your container. And this is what it looks like. Not sure if you can tell that. And now I'm going to emboss it. And now I'm going to emboss it with my heat gun. And look how shiny it is. I might go over this a couple times just to have a nice thick coat on it. And I also have this pen, because if you can see right here, this little line didn't get embossed, so my pen will fit in there nicely, and then I can emboss that part as well. Well, I just wanted to share with you that because when I bought this one, some of the cardboard was lifted a bit on some of these edges, I ended up filing them all down. Even though I embossed them the first time, I filed them all down, and then maybe you can see it better like that, and then re-embossed them because I just didn't like the look of it looking uneven. So my next step is going to be to ink all my edges, and that covers up this little white edge that I sanded it off. Plus, I really like the edge of the distressed ink, and because this is a vintage, this paper reminds me of some vintage colors, I'm going with the walnut stain on here. And one of the packages for the free giveaway is has lots of blues in it. The one is exactly the same as this set, and the other one has the same embellishments but has more of a blue tinge to the paper. So I do the same with that, maybe not as dark of the inking, but yeah, I'd still ink the edges of that one as well. So I will ink all my edges and I'll be back. I just want to share that even though these are all inked around the edges, I still go around the very edge of it because I don't want to see the chipboard. So I want to go all the way around the edges. So I wanted to use my Bind It All to bind this, and I always make a template before I actually punch the holes in the actual project I'm doing, and it didn't really work. Here's my template, and as you can see, there's a little nip here. And there's a little nip out of this one too. So it wasn't going to work. But what I am going to do, because I still want to use the binding rings, is my crocodile. So what I did was I put this where I wanted it, and I just drew circles, or little dots, where each of the holes should be, so then it'll line up with the actual binding rings. I just want to show you that mistakes are made, and there are ways on fixing the mistakes that we do make. And here is a perfect example of one. Here is the front cover, and first I punched the holes on this side. Then I realized this is the front cover and it has to open this way, and I was going to rearrange the pages for it to work the other way, but I like the layouts of how I put the paper, so I thought I'm just going to go with it and see what happens. So I corrected it and I punched it here on this side, but now I just have to figure out what I'm going to do to fix this area here. I have no idea what I'm going to do, and so you'll learn right along with me on how I'm going to fix this one. This is a pretty doozer, I can tell you that. I just want to share a tip with you. I'm sure a lot of you know this already, but just in case you don't, I will share with you how I change my colors of my brads. I wanted some red colored brads and I didn't have any. I only have this gray color, but I made it into this red color, and I will show you how I did it. I take my brad and I put it on something so I don't have to touch it with my fingers, because I'm going to use my heat embossing tool and I don't want to burn my little fingers. So you take your Versamark and you cover your brad in the Versamark. Then you dip the brad in whatever color you want to use, and in this case it's more of a burgundy, and put that over here. And then you heat your brad up. Sorry, I hate the noise of the heat gun. It seems so much louder. See how fast that heated up? Then you're going to want to dip it in your embossing powder again. Heat it up. Again, it doesn't take long for it to melt. And I do it about 4 times. And there you go. You have a perfect colored brad. Whatever color you want, you can make your own colors. Customize them. I thought I'd share with you how I'm going to decorate this little coffee sleeve. And all I did was I inked around the edges, and then I put a magnet closure in there because I love to close my stuff with magnets. So I figured out where I wanted the closure to go, and I put it on. Then I covered this and I cut it just a little bit smaller so you can see the background, and I inked it with my aged mahogany. Love that color. It's one of my favorite colors. And now I'll just show you. You just put the paper right over top of the magnet and it hides the magnet and it's still functional. So I'm going to go and finish adhering the rest of the paper on, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So here is the finished sleeve, and I put all the pattern paper on it, and I know everybody calls these coffee sleeves, but I like to call them hot chocolate sleeves because this is the only thing I put in mine, because I hate coffee, but I love my hot chocolate. So all the papers are covering the brown part of the paper, and you can hear the magnetic closure still works really good. These are really good magnetic discs. I forget the name of them. I took them out of the package, but they're really good. They're really good and strong. So there you go. So we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so you remember my little screw up I did on the cover? Well, this is how I decorated the inside. I put the brads on in the holes that I made. And then on this side, well, this is the cover, and I'm going to decorate it with flowers and a whole bunch of different things. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put another piece of paper on top of it so you can't notice it. You're not going to see it because I'm going to have lots of stuff on there, but just in case you can see a little bit of color poking through, then I want to camouflage it. So I'm going to attach this onto here like this, and then do my cutting and my inking around the edges. So the front of the album is pretty much complete. As you can see, the glue is still drying, and you can't see where I put that other piece of paper to cover up the backs of the brads from this side. So it just shows you that there are no mistakes. If you think you made a mistake, there's always a way to fix it. And I use this, actually I have it right in front of me so I can show you the actual proper name of it, is the Holiday Lamp Post. And I use this die here, and I did it with black paper, and then I did another piece of chipboard. I just colored the back here. And in between I sandwiched a piece of packaging, and I colored it with my Copic marker. And actually the packaging is like this plastic here, really, really thin plastic. I could have used the thicker plastic like that these dies came in, but I wanted it really thin because I wanted this sandwich so there wouldn't be like really a lot of thickness in there. And I think that turned out pretty good. Now, I just have to do some more finishing touches on the album, and I will show you the completed album in another video. So thank you for watching my choppy video, and I hope you got some tips in here. I just want to say that I am in awe of you women that can post a video of showing you making a mini album from start to finish. That is just remarkable for me because I can't do that. For one thing, it takes me weeks to do one mini album. So for that, I applaud you. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and like I said, I hope you got some tips on here. And stay tuned, and I will show you the completed mini in another video. Thank you. Bye now.